All right, everybody. How's it going? Middle of the week, Wednesday night episode here coming at you. This is a Flawed Man of God. I am your host, Stuart Davis, a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. Not a pastor, not a biblical scholar, haven't been to seminary. Not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm just here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of different topics, issues, current events, and give you my perspective on them, one that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 40 years non denominational Protestant, don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination, just in the word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Some days I will do it right, other days I will not. But either way, what you're going to get from me is my honest takes whenever I'm streaming. So, if you are somebody who is interested in learning more about Christianity, learning more about Jesus, maybe becoming one, a Christian, not a Jesus. Um, Maybe you are considering going to church, you're looking for meaning in life and wondering possibly if there's more to your existence than just your life here on earth. And to you, I say, welcome. Glad to have you here. Please tune in. And hopefully, what I can provide to you is some sort of insight, influence, or perspective to you that can kind of give you an idea of what to expect with when interacting with folks of the faith, with Christians. Because what I'm trying to represent here is just the guy who's sitting next to you in the pew, the one who's welcoming you in the lobby, pointing you out to, the proper place to go, and you may very well run into somebody just like me. And what better way to um bring that perspective than to be that guy. Not a professional, not somebody who does this kind of stuff for a living, and just be somebody say, hey, look, this is what it's all about. This is what you can come to expect, and this is what you should be looking for. And what we're going to learn along the way is we're just going to take this very lay person approach, this very amateur approach to reading through the Bible, which is what we're often doing, or talking about different things and how as they relate to Christianity. So if you've got any questions or if you've got any opinions, maybe you think that I'm wrong about what I'm talking about. Maybe you are confused about what you're hearing, or maybe you have something to add with different experience or insights or whatever. Join into the chat. Join into the chat and let me hear it. We're a small enough community that if you put it in there, I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna respond to it. If you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome as well. Glad to have you here. We run this very casually, very relaxed, very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. We like to get to know everybody here. We like it to be kind of a community where everybody's kind of comfortable with where they're at or in the chat, sharing things and opinions, comfortable on that level, and certainly comfortable enough to make fun of me. Because if a chat can't do that, then what can they do? Right? But either way, we've got a great group of folks who tune in and night out who are part of this chat. I would love for you guys to participate in that as well. The chat, you guys add so much extra content, so much extra value to what I want this stream to be, and what I want this channel to provide to folks. That it is the value is incalculable, and we want that to grow. So if you're not subscribed, but you like what you hear, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like the show, give it a like. Let YouTube know that you enjoyed it. So maybe I can start to beat the algorithm somehow. Just beat it into submission with by pure force of will, and get the word out about the show. because I'm not looking for any type of financial gain out of this. What I really want to do is just spread the word, spread the good news, introduce people to the gospel, introduce people to the faith, and have them and just have my reach expand. So word of mouth is great. So you guys go out and spread the news, right? And if you know of anybody who you think might benefit from this show or enjoy it, by all means, please share it with them. And with that said, we're getting into the Bible tonight. Blaine's first in the chat, way early, not that early, early for you, maybe, but not early to the show. You're only 6 minutes. Alias is here as well. Good evening, folks. We are doing Vacation Bible School at church this week. It is, look, Vacation Bible School volunteers need prayer because dealing with even a small number of kids, only if you're dealing with a few dozen kids, is a madhouse because they're of all different ages. They have got all the energy because they're not spending it in school because now they're out of school, and it is just a madhouse. And we have at our church we have a very young but very capable youth minister um, who is going through his VBS first VBS that he's running, and the kids are coming back enjoying it. So I guess he's doing his job right. But that's the introduction between of the logistics learning curve that is Vacation Bible School. And so, you always want to put your prayers out for the folks running it and the volunteers as well, because it is a very hectic and stressful time. And I didn't make it any easier for him tonight because we are very let me say, sticklers for security and making sure that everybody, if you bring kids, you take the ticket that matches up to their name tags, and when you come to pick them up, you bring that ticket. Well, I didn't do that because I thought my wife was going to be picking them up, but then she couldn't pick them up, so I had to go pick them up. But then when I got the stuff, I had to go out, and I forgot the ticket. But I wasn't heading back. I wasn't going to be late for the stream. And I wasn't going to make them have to stick around extra long with watching my kids. So I kind of just wormed my way through that. So I bent the rules, and I'm on the security ministry, so I shouldn't do that. So I sent them an apology. Maybe I'll send them the link to this to say, hey, I didn't know, just apologize to you personally. I apologize to you in front of the internet and let everybody know Stuart bent the rules, shouldn't do that. And then I'll try not to do that in the future. But yes, Vacation Bible School. My wife is usually a volunteer there. I volunteer there sometimes, but it definitely takes patience. It definitely takes maturity. Some of it anyway. Yex is here. What's going on, sir? Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. Um, Well said. Whoever you're quoting, I don't know if that's biblical or church fathers, but it's poignant. And like I said, while I'm bragging on my our youth minister, he oftentimes represents that. Oftentimes that represents that. He has got a wonderful future in ministry, and I don't think it's going to be limited to. I don't think it's going to be limited to youth ministry. I think he is going to lead a church one day, and he is going to do an outstanding job just from the impressions I have um, with his with his first year, and that's awesome. That's an awesome thing to see, a guy coming right out of Bible college and hitting the ground running and really just impressing everybody. So, Blaine said VBS was the only summer thing I ever did as a kid. Camps and other things cost money we didn't have. For the most part, it's the same way for us as far as the VBS is the only summer thing we did. We're going to send them to more vacation Bible schools for other churches, but the camp thing, I just have a difficult time in these times, and maybe that I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being overly paranoid. I don't. I don't trust people with kids anymore. With my kids anymore. There's too many weirdos out there. There's too much news. There's too much anything. It's just maybe I helicopter it a little bit, but you've got to be pretty close, pretty much in my inner circle to for me to leave my kids with you overnight. And a camp full of strangers or people I might know casually, neither me nor my wife are very keen on that idea. Hello there, everyone. Rough day yesterday, but I'm glad to be here tonight. Hopefully things are going okay, Emmanuel. Don't let don't let yesterday get you down. Tune in tonight. Let's read the Bible tonight and get some good lessons out of it. I know you're always eager for that, and I'm always glad to see you on the show as well. So welcome, Emmanuel Osorio. I love having you here. Matt Felty, I'm here on stream. Matt Felty, I'm here on stream tonight because VBS had the building. There we go. Doing some yard work for my folks at the moment. Good. VBS takes over. VBS is no joke. And Dresden is here. Late. You're late, Dresden. Um, there is something in the news that is causing all sorts of hang on. Causing all sorts of memery. And some of it is you might laugh at it with the dark humor type that we have. But let's also remember this submarine thing is we are talking about lives that are probably lost. And maybe there was some recklessness, some carelessness involved. We don't know. We really don't know. But a lot of conclusions are being jumped to, and they may very well be correct. I know that some of the things I heard about their approach to uh, this business would not be something I would be comfortable with. However, you know, people may have paid for those mistakes with their lives, and just try to remember before um, when you may be laughing at the memes of Vin Diesel driving a Dodge Challenger to into the water because he's got family on board, and it's a um, Fast and Furious joke. But just remember, I know I have, and I'm sure each of you guys have gone through moments where you have done something incredibly dumb that may very well have cost you your life, if not luck or just circumstance or whatever you want to call it. Um, Managed to get in the way between you and your final destination. But hopefully they find the sub. Hopefully they are found alive, healthy, and hopefully they learn from their mistakes, which is don't have a remote control from a video game as your controls for your submarine, your deep sea submersible. Find people who are qualified to be around submarines, who have been around submarines and understand the safety and protocols of uh, of submarines. to handle this and not inexperienced folks. Anyway, that's coming from. We might talk about that a little bit more on Friday because I'm sure that more news will be going on with that. But yeah, leave the little bro controller at home, and that's really what it is. Really what it is. And I'm just, to me, it's just like, at what point did any of this seem like a good idea? Like, the concept is cool, right? Private submarine trip down to go look at wrecks, especially famous ones like the Titanic. Cool. Let's take this approach. Let's approach this idea with some wisdom and not try to score um, virtue signal points. So, Emmanuel Sorio had to pull an all day and all nighter. Got back home. Okay, so you're on your rest. So I've just been chilling and playing video games. Good. Had to unload at 5 in the morning, so that was fun. Dude, that is part of the game. That is part of the game. My dad is semi-retired now, and um, he deals a lot with the unloading of things at the place that he works at, and he's always talking about the drivers are just waiting to unload. You got to be on a different schedule of life than everybody else. It's more like this is much closer. What you're doing is much closer to like the firefighter, first responder schedules. Veritex said one report I read today suggests they heard banging somewhere near the site. Problem is, how do you rescue a deep submersible? The problem is reaching them. They have deep sea submersible rescues for other naval and maritime craft. They've had them for decades. The one of if any of you guys have watched The Hunt for Red October, the little transport sub that they used to get from the Dallas to the Red October, that was an example of that. But you got to get it there. They got to get it there, and you got to know where it is, and they don't. Red Magnificent Seven, Alias. I think you. Yeah, I welcomed you here earlier. Under the sea, they're going to meet both the Little Mermaid and the Water Tribe in Pandora at once. But in all seriousness, that sucks for those guys. Yeah. Yes, it does. But Stu, they just needed to believe in the wah energy. They just needed a bit more orcish energy. There's a great way to approach that with the way they talk. Mm. Um, with the way the orcs talk in Warhammer. Oh, cool story. My best friend, my buddy, my man wants to get into Warhammer 40K, and I am super stoked about it because I get to introduce him to it. I've been talking to him about it, and hey, these are how you need to get in it. Now, I know that Nick likes to say that Eisenhorn is the best, is what he normally recommends as the first novel series for people to get in. Um, I would say that I get people started on the Horse Heresy. So, Horse Rising, which my brother has the original book, but I think he lost it in the many moves that he's had since I last gave it to him. So I ordered another paperback copy, but a lot of heresy novels right behind me there. You've got Salamander books. You've got over by the Gundam behind there. You've got Blood Angels, Blood Ravens Omnibus, Grey Knights Omnibus, Battle of the Fang, and the Inquisition War, which was the first one I read, and it was terrible. Actually, it was that the Inquisition War actually almost got me out of 40K before I even got into it. But there you go. To be fair, driving a sub with a console controller is kind of cool. Yeah, conceptually in a simulator, not in real life. Right, they do for other stubs, where this might even be deeper than what is supported. I don't know, because I can't imagine the the way that I've heard that the sub has been constructed, that the crush depth on this is anywhere near approaching what some of these other what most submarines are capable of. I think even the DRV has a depth that can't go under. Yeah, it does. I don't know if it's greater or lesser than most subs. I don't know how it's built, so don't know the specs. Trucking, hurrying up and wait. The name of the game. Been on the road for 2 weeks. I'm shot. 2 more days, more. Lord willing, I'll be home. Well, Alias, stay safe out there, buddy. Emmanuel says, get them reading The Last Church, then go into the heresy. I personally got into it by a podcast called Adeptus Ridiculous. They meme it up, but it's fairly accurate, dude. 40K is blowing up. 40K is blowing up, and it's getting a little politically correct, a little PC. So I know that a lot of folks have been moving over to BattleTech, which is also another universe I'm a fan of. Um, it's just different. They haven't done as good of a job building the lore, but they still have some. Tex Talks BattleTech is a great channel. Oh, that dude is hilarious to listen to. Veritax, even if I remembered what it was decades ago, it might be different today too. I'm right there with you. I don't know anything about it. All right, small talk's over. We'll talk about the submarine on Friday some more. But like I said, hopefully they're running out of air. We need to help them. Hopefully we can get them the help that they need. And again, hopefully they learn from whatever mistakes were made. And maybe no mistakes were made. Maybe it was just maybe something else. Maybe a whale ran into them or something. You never know what happened that can really screw things up. Murphy's Law is always at play, and you always have to remember that when you do things that are dangerous. All right. With that said, let's get into the word, right? We got our small talk out of the way. All right, so tonight talking about Hezekiah Continued. All right, like I said in the description for tonight's episode, what we've got here in the next chapters is Hezekiah. So if we remember from last week what we were reading, Hezekiah following a line of some kind of disappointing rulers, guys who didn't have God's interests at heart, but Hezekiah does. Hezekiah puts it into action, and he doesn't waste a whole lot of time either doing it. And one of the things he does, he doesn't just go through he doesn't just do it for Judah. He reaches out to his lost brothers and sisters out in Israel. And we've talked about Israel before. They're kind of a secondary topic, a subject here through um through Chronicles, because the focus on Chronicles is really Judah and the kingdom of Judah. Israel's been lost from the moment Solomon died and Jeroboam took over as king of Israel. From the moment that happened, Israel's been lost because Jeroboam immediately, I'm in charge. I don't need. God told him, hey, look, you do the right thing, you're going to be good. Things are going to go well for you. Jeroboam said, I can do this on my own. And every leader, every ruler since then has been terrible in Israel, and they're never going to fix it. They'll never fix it. The only kingdom that has a good ruler is Judah. They have them from time to time. So Israel's been lost for a while now. But Hezekiah doesn't care. He knows that he's got brothers and sisters in the tribes as Israel, fellow Israelites, that still are part of this covenant. They were party to this covenant that God set up with Jacob. And so he reaches out to them and has them just basically says, hey, guys, we're getting back to the basics here. We're getting back to doing what we're supposed to do. We're going to do a great Passover celebration. Please come. And so he sends his emissaries out here with that message. And a lot of the Israelites laugh at him. Ha! Look at this. Look at this tool. Look at this. Very much the same way that the world looks at Christians today when we talk about doing things, inviting them to church or inviting them to share in the things that we believe. Many people have jokes. The so basically most of the Israelites give the couriers the cringy Reddit atheist um insults and blow-offs and go, yeah, whatever. And but some listened and some came. And Veritax, I'm getting right to it, right? And and this is what we had seen in First Kings, which we've already covered. Not all Israel had fallen. First Kings 19:18. Nevertheless, I've reserved 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal and whose mouths have not kissed him. This is actually the chapter and verse, Veritex, thank you, that I often revert back to when we talk about the vast majority of the culture and the society of Israel has fallen. There are still folks there who are good. Like you said, 7,000. We look at how big Israel is as a nation at this point. I mean, they're fielding armies of several 100,000 men. That's just the standing army. And with a population that big, 7,000. 7,000 are still true to God. This is why Israel is in such bad conditions, because of the Jeroboams, because of the Ahabs, because of all these folks, all these bad leaders, the Jezebels. They're not holding the people accountable. They're not leading by example. Well, they're leading people into sin, temptation, and damnation by example. And so they're reaching these folks, and maybe not just the 7,000. Maybe some folks who are sitting out there who really honestly, genuinely searching for something, or reminded that they haven't been. We don't know, but people come, people respond to it. And do you think, and here's where we could come with this. Do you think that was worth it for Hezekiah? Now, I guess it's easy when you're king, you don't care as much. But he put himself out there, he put his reputation out there as a leader by sending these couriers out there. He's ridiculed and laughed at by probably, let's comfortably say, the majority of the Israelites who hear this. He's held up as a joke to him. But he gets some people, he reaches some people, and they come and they seek that out. Was that worth it? Is it worth it to Hezekiah? So is it worth it to you to go out there and invite people to church and to talk to people? And I know that that's awkward because I've I've been no stranger. One of the reasons why I decided to do the channel the way that I did it is because in real life, I feel like cold is just cold, or cold calling, it feels like it, people to church is awkward and for both parties. And I don't like doing it. But I do like creating an environment where somebody can seek it out and find us in a very open setting like we have here. And that's why I've created this. Could I be better at this? Of course. And and that's something to take away, because they came and they didn't know how to do it right. And Hezekiah said, Lord, please forgive them. Their heart's in the right spot. They're trying to do the right thing. They just don't know. And the Lord was pleased. So why am I picturing Hezekiah like Lauren Green as Adama in the beginning of OG Battlestar Galactica, pulling together the ragtag fugitive fleet? Um, Dude, OG Battlestar Galactica was cool. I could never get into the new stuff. But yeah, Lauren Green. It's a great show. All right, but that's where we're picking up. And so we'll We'll go from there. All right. When all this had ended, chapter 31, Hezekiah. I'm sorry, not the chapter Hezekiah, book of Hezekiah. Second Chronicles chapter 31. When all this had ended, the Israelites who were there went out to the towns of Judah, smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the Asherah poles. Beast! They destroyed the high places and the altars throughout Judah and Benjamin and in Ephraim and Manasseh. This is good. After they destroyed all of them, the Israelites returned to their own towns and to their own property. Now, the question is, did they do the same thing when they got home? Because as bad as it was in Judah, excuse me, as bad as it was in Judah, you know it's worse in Israel. Contributions for worship. Hezekiah assigned the priests and Levites to divisions, each of them according to their duties as priests or Levites, to offer burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, to minister, to give thanks, and to sing praises at the gates of the Lord's dwelling. The king contributed from his own possessions for the morning and the evening burnt offerings, and for the burnt offerings on the Sabbaths, at the new moons, and at the appointed festivals, as written in the law of the Lord. Amen. He ordered the people living in Jerusalem to give the portion due to the priests and Levites so they could devote themselves to the law of the Lord. As soon as the order went out, the Israelites generously gave the first fruits of their grain, new wine, olive oil, and honey, and all that the fields produced. They brought a great amount, a tithe of everything. The people of Israel and Judah who lived in the towns of Judah also brought a tithe of their herds and flocks, and a tithe of the holy things dedicated to the Lord their God, and they piled them in heaps. They began doing this on the 3rd month and finished in the 7th month. When Hezekiah and his officials came and saw the heaps, they praised the Lord and blessed the people. Amen to that. It's always, look, this is a wholesome verse. So, this is a wholesome part of this chapter. Folks doing the right thing, right? It's been a long time since they'd stuck to it this well. Because we're talking about several years, sometimes maybe several generations have passed and they haven't done this. So think of how alien this is. Think about when you haven't done something in 5 to 10 years, how that might make you feel kind of out of place, or maybe like a homecoming. Who knows? But it's different. It's got its own feel to it. Maybe now try doing this for the first time in your life, but you knew you're supposed to be doing it all of your life. Emmanuel says, since I'm from LA, I do the approach of, hey, tell me your story, and then I see if people are receptive to the word. I think it really just comes, and Emmanuel, that's an awesome way to do it. I think it comes down to what's your natural way of getting in there, right? And if you've got a good way of presenting this, dude, that's an awesome way in. Hezekiah is doing what you call a pro gamer move. Very based. Very based. And they praise the Lord, so everybody's happy. Hezekiah asked the priests and Levites about the heaps. The heaps. we got heaps, right? It's like, we got heaps. We've got heaps. The greatest heaps, full of the greatest things. He asked about the heaps, and Azariah, the chief priest from the family of Zadok, answered, since the people began to bring their contributions to the temple of the Lord, we have had enough to eat and plenty to spare, because the Lord has blessed his people, and this great amount is left over. Hezekiah gave orders to prepare storerooms in the temple of the Lord, and this was done. Then they faithfully brought in the contributions, tithes, and dedicated gifts. Conaniah, a Levite, was the overseer in charge of these things, and his brother Shimei was next in rank. Jehiel, oh great, more names. Jehiel, Azaziah, Nahath, Azahel, Jeremoth, Jozabad, Eliel, Ismachiah, Mahath, Benaniah were assistants of Conaniah and Shimei his brother. I hate it when it makes me do that. All these served by appointment of King Hezekiah and Azariah, the official in charge of the temple of the God. I say I hate it when it makes me do that, but imagine being honored by having your name in print in the Bible for something you did. That was good. That was good. Kor, son of Imnah, the Levite, keeper of the east gate, was in charge of the free will offerings given to God, distributing the contributions made to the Lord and also the consecrated gifts. Eden, Miniamin, Jeshua, Shemaiah, Amariah, and Shechaniah assisted him faithfully in the towns of the priests, distributing to their fellow priests according to their divisions, old and young alike. In addition, they distributed to the males 3 years old or more whose names were in the genealogical records, all who would enter the the temple of the Lord, hopefully not the temper of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, to perform the daily duties of their various tasks according to their responsibilities and their divisions. And they distributed to the priests enrolled by their families in the genealogical records, and likewise to the Levites 20 years old or more, according to their responsibilities and their divisions. They included all the little ones, the wives, and the sons and daughters of the whole community listed in these genealogical records, for they were faithful in consecrating themselves. The people are giving, and so the way God has laid out how this society, how this nation should be run, is operating like a well-oiled machine. The people are being blessed. They're taking their blessings. They're giving it back to God. And as a result, the Levites, who are supposed to be focusing on the focusing on tending to the flock, the early flock, um, are able to focus on that, and their families are taken care of. Everybody's doing well. Life's good, right? Contrast what Hezekiah does with what Ahaz does back in 2nd Chronicles 28 and Kings 16:10. Contrasting. Oh yeah. And we talked Vertax, I don't know if you were in there when we were talking about Ahaz, because I compared him to Ahab. They were very just because the names were so close, and Ahaz was an a-hole. All right. As for the priests, the descendants of Aaron, who lived on the farmlands around their towns or in any other towns, men were designated by name to distribute portions to every male among them and to all who were recorded in the genealogies of the Levites. This is what Hezekiah did throughout Judah, doing what was good and right and faithful before the Lord his God. In everything that he undertook in the service of God's temple and in obedience to the law and the commands, he sought his God and worked wholeheartedly. And so he prospered. Always good. Oh, hits me right there. How proud are you of Hezekiah? I am. These these are the guys. These are the guys in the Bible that you again we talk about what would you do if you were in if you were in the same shoes, and we would probably, if we're being honest, we probably wouldn't be as good, as disciplined, and as steadfast in honoring God as these guys. Maybe we would. We don't know. We have to be open to the possibility that temptation would get to us, because power corrupts so much. Satan uses that easy in to corrupt us. And it has worked many times. And again, all you have to do is look at Israel to see. So when we see this, we see that this happens. we know that it is possible. It is possible to be the good and faithful servant, even as king, even with all the power and making God happy. Oop, did I go ahead one? Wait, are we 31 and 32? Okay. All right. Sennacherib threatens Jerusalem. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, Hezekiah is a sweet spot in the late history of Judah. Watch out for his son Manasseh, though. Yeah, well, we're getting who has to be redeemed by Josiah, right? Who is another one who I enjoy reading about. But Manasseh is another jerk. Yes, love that King Peel. D nice. After all that Hezekiah had so faithfully done, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and invaded Judah. He laid siege to the fortified cities, thinking to conquer them for himself. When Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib had come and that he intended to wage war against Jerusalem, he consulted with his officials and military staff about blocking off the water from the springs outside the city, and they helped him. They gathered a large group of people who blocked all the springs and the stream that flowed through the land. Why should the kings of Assyria come and find plenty of water? They said. Then he worked hard repairing all the broken sections of the wall and building towers on it. We need a wall. We need a great wall. Oh, good. You've got a better pronunciation for that, Veritex? Thank you. Sennacherib. Okay. That's easier to say, actually. Thank you. Sennacherib. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Um, where was I at? He built another wall outside, and one that reinforced the terraces of the city of David. He also made large numbers of weapons and shields. He appointed military officers over the people and assembled them before him in the square at the city gate and encouraged them with these words, bringing the people together. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged because of the king of Assyria and the vast army with him, for there is a greater power with us than with him. Yes! With him is only the arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles. Man of faith. He understands. He gets it. He knows the history. He's seen it, right? He's seen the blessings come when God had promised that they would come when he did the things that they were supposed to do. He has listened and apparently paid attention to what's happened in the past. And he knows God will deliver them. And the people gained confidence from what Hezekiah, the king of Judah, said. Later, when Sennacherib, king of Assyria, and all his forces were laying siege to Lachish, he sent his officers to Jerusalem with this message for Hezekiah, king of Judah, and for all the people of Judah who were there. This is what Sennacherib, king of Assyria, says. On what are you basing your confidence? That you remain in Jerusalem under siege? When Hezekiah said, the Lord our God will save us from the hand of the king of Assyria, he is misleading you to let you die of hunger and thirst. Did not Hezekiah himself remove this God's high places and altars, saying to Judah and Jerusalem, you must worship before one altar and burn sacrifices on it? Do you not know what I and my predecessors have done to all the peoples of the other lands? Were the gods of those nations ever able to deliver their land from my hand? Who of all the gods of these nations that my predecessors destroyed has been able to save his people from me? How then can your God, lowercase g, by the way, your God deliver you from my hand? Now do not let Hezekiah deceive you and mislead you like this. Do not believe him, for no God of any kingdom or nation has been able to deliver his people from my hand or the hand of my predecessors. He's very repetitive. How much less will your God deliver you from my hand? Um, Sennacherib talking some mad smack right now. What he may not be aware of is that the gods of the other nations have been either imaginary or demons who will happily give up their own. What he's dealing with here is the great power in the universe. Might be a bridge too far here. Emmanuel said, we have no choice. We have no choice. Build that wall. Donald Trump was always an Imperial Fist fan. That's true. Better that than the crap. Not Iron Fists. Crap. Who was Perturabo's legion? Anyway. Iron Deck on him. Iron Warriors? Is it Iron Warriors? Sennacherib's officers spoke further against the Lord and against his servant Hezekiah. Bold strategy, Cotton. The king also wrote letters ridiculing the Lord, the God of Israel, and saying this against him. Just as the gods of the people of the other lands did not rescue their people from my hand, so the God of Hezekiah will not rescue his people from my hand. Then they called out in Hebrew to the people of Jerusalem who were on the wall to terrify them and make them afraid in order to capture the city. They spoke about the God of Jerusalem as they did about the gods of the other peoples of the world, the work of human hands. I love how they wrap that up, the work of human hands. All right, so we're seeing a psyop, right? We're seeing a propaganda campaign, a attempt to demoralize the city under siege and the people in there to get them to give up or turn against their ruler and open those doors and let the Assyrians in by basically saying, you're not going to stop us. You might as well not even fight. Your God is a nobody. Your God is nothing to us. We are going to conquer him, conquer you, conquer him. It doesn't matter. Your king is a chump. However, again, this time is different. This time is different. But they wrap it up so great when they talk about the other gods. They talked about the God of Jerusalem as they did about the gods of the other peoples of the world, the work of human hands. Great. This verse low key hits. This one hits good, right? They're gonna make me do that. I'm not doing that. Crap. Bounce me back. There we go. King Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah, son of Amoz, cried out in prayer to heaven about this. And the Lord sent an angel who annihilated all the fighting men and the commanders and officers in the camp of the Assyrian king. So he withdrew to his own land in disgrace. And when he went into the temple of his God, some of his sons, his own flesh and blood, cut him down with the sword. So the Lord Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem from So the Lord saved Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem from the hand of Sennacherib, king of Assyria, and from the hands of all others. He took care of them on every side. That's a note there. He gave them rest. Okay. He took care of them on every side. Many brought offerings to Jerusalem for the Lord and valuable gifts for Hezekiah, king of Judah. From then on, he was highly regarded by all nations. Yeah, maybe y'all should be holding the Lord in there. Let's go back real quick. Right? Let's take a quick break. because we're running a little early tonight. Let's go back to Second Kings and get because I think it goes into more detail. Isaiah prophesizes. Hang on. Here we go. So Isaiah prophesizes and Hezekiah prays. Oh, I take that back. The Lord speaks to Hezekiah through Isaiah. That night, the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies. I like, what happened? So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, broke camp and withdrew. He returned to Nineveh and stayed there. Remember that place, Nineveh. And one day, while he was worshiping in the temple of his god Nisroch, his sons Dremelech and Sharezer, whatever, killed him with the sword, and they escaped to the land of Ararat. And as Esarhaddon, his son, succeeded him as king. Didn't wait all that talk, all that knack. Went in there like some people go into Afghanistan. Went in there like some people go into Russia in the winter. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, but in this case, it's even worse. So Hezekiah's pride, success, and death. In those days, Hezekiah became ill and was at the point of death. He prayed to the Lord, who answered him and gave him a miraculous sign. But Hezekiah's heart was proud, and he did not respond to the kindness shown him. Therefore, the Lord's wrath was on him and on Judah and Jerusalem. Then Hezekiah repented of the pride of his heart, as did the people of Jerusalem. Therefore, the Lord's wrath did not come on them during the days of Hezekiah. Hezekiah had very great wealth and honor, and he made treasuries for his silver and gold, and for his precious stones, spices, shields, and all kinds of valuables. He also made buildings to store the harvest of grain, new wine, and olive oil, and he made stalls for various kinds of cattle, and pens for the flock. He built villages and acquired great numbers of flocks and herds, for God had given him very great riches. It was Hezekiah who blocked the upper outlet of the Gihon spring and channeled the water down to the west side of the city of David. He succeeded in everything he undertook. But when envoys were sent by the rulers of Babylon to ask him about the miraculous sign that occurred in the land, God left him to test him and to know everything that was in his heart. The other events of Hezekiah's reign and his acts of devotion are written in the vision of the prophet Isaiah, son of Amoz, in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. Hezekiah rested with his ancestors and was buried on the hill where the tombs of David's descendants are. All Judah and the people of Jerusalem honored him when he died, and Manasseh, his son, succeeded him as king. Manasseh, I feel like I've heard that before. I feel like somebody's warned us in this chat of him, but we'll have to learn more about him tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Yes. Tomorrow night. The angel was like Randy Savage. Oh, yeah, I got 3 minutes of playtime. How many can I wipe out with one stroke of the sword? Don't mess with the angels. Don't touch the angels. Don't provoke them. Don't do any of that. Stop it. Leave them alone. All right. So that's our reading for tonight. So what do we get? Hezekiah, great things. Stumbles a little bit at the end, but rights himself. and is well respected. And look at what happened. His kingdom was blessed. Guys, it's important to know. It's important to pay attention and to know you guys are doing it. God has made this promise to these folks in Israel on how that they're going to be rewarded if they do things the way that they're supposed to be, not just as individuals, but as a nation, as a society. And a lot of times they're judged based on their ruler. Because the Israelites, like so many of us, are followers, but also a stiff-necked and stubborn people. It's difficult I guess it's difficult to kind of understand why we are the way we are. But look to the good examples for positive reinforcement, and look to the bad examples for negative reinforcement. Hezekiah is a good example of where you need to be. And as good as he wasn't perfect. So understand that you're not going to be perfect either. You already have screwed up. Before you ever turn this on, before any of this, you've already screwed up. Big time. And we're not here to focus and harp on that. It's not what that's not what this stream is all about. That's not what this channel is all about. This is not what Christianity is all about. Not here to harp on your iniquities. We know you're broken. We know you've got your struggles. We know you have your vices. We're going to talk about why they're bad. We're going to remind you that they are bad. And if you're open and confess, we'll help you as much as we can to get through it. Because we understand, if we're honest with ourselves, we understand that we are dealing with this stuff again as well. And maybe we need your help. And we definitely need the Lord's help in overcoming our iniquities. Can't go through this alone. God doesn't want us to his intent isn't for us to go through things alone. We're not to be John the Baptist out there in the wilderness with camel hair and eating bugs, right? We're meant to be with other people. We're meant to be a community to look out for each other, to be better than Israel was, to look at their example and not repeat them. And there are plenty of Israels out there now. Just got to look at Hillsong. You just got to look at the ELCA. You just got to look at the Episcopalians. You've just got to look at the cafeteria Catholics. They're out there. They've given in. You look at the ex-evangelicals and the folks who are deconstructing their faith. You can see these folks, see what they're doing, and understand that they have fallen in love with the world. Emmanuel, Hillsong's a long subject, but Hillsong's been a bad influence for almost since inception. It feels like it was always a grift. Anyway, with that said, guys, we are at an hour. I felt like this was a longer stream for some reason. But we've talked about Hezekiah, and we've learned the lessons. And I want this to end positively, because this is positive stream. This is a positive stream because we were talking about something positive. It's great. It's great. There are people we can look up to. So. All right, so Emmanuel, Matt Felty, alias Veritax. Yex. Alias. Wait, did I already say alias? Yes, I did already say alias. But alias again. Dresden. Blaine. I think that's it. All you guys, thank you for popping into the chat. Thanks for bringing the extra stuff for me to discuss, to talk about what. Let me back this up. All right, stumbling over my own words. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in the chat. Thank you for providing what insights and comments you have. Thanks for giving me your attention. And that goes for the folks who didn't comment, who are just watching the stream live, whether you're catching it uh, live or catching it on the on the back end. Glad you guys are here. Glad you guys are giving giving the word the attention it deserves. In spite of my very amateurish approach to it, I'm glad that I'm able to provide something to you guys. Hopefully I can catch you live if I didn't tonight. But thank you. And again, like I said, like the stream if you like the stream. Click the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Spread the word around. The word of mouth is better than anything else. Guys, thank you very much for everything that you guys do. And I'm glad that I've got folks who are happy with at least the way that I'm presenting things enough that you come here night in and night out to commune with me, and as we honor God by reading his word into the ether of the internet for anybody who stumbles upon this channel to hear. All right, guys, have a good night. We'll be here tomorrow night, and tomorrow night afterwards, I'll be on Eric Rollon's show, talk about all the craziness on the Pulpit Madness. That'll be at 10 Eastern time tomorrow, but we're going to do our regularly scheduled show tomorrow. And there you have it. Have a very good night, and God bless.